It's really indeed a pleasure to introduce our president for this year, Dr. Sandra Wong. If I could get my slides up, please. Sandra, in preparing for this introduction, Sandra told me a little bit about her family. She said that her parents were immigrants, and she was actually the first in her family to go to college. And I talked with her sister, and she said Sandra was always the big sister. She has always taken care of us, and her passion has always been about helping others. In school, she was always the president of every club. She was always the first to step up and volunteer to help and to create an environment that was inclusive. And her sister Connie told me, I just don't know where I would be without her. Sandra was the first to go to college, and she did it big. She went to Berkeley, where she majored in molecular and cellular biology, but she also minored in business, very forward-thinking. She was very successful at Berkeley and then went to Northwestern University for medical school. And where at Northwestern, she was also a superstar and of course was selected for Alpha Omega Alpha. She then went to University of Louisville to become a surgeon. And again, she created an environment there that was very inclusive, and she was chief resident in general surgery, and she's shown here with some of her co-residents, always smiling, always being supportive of others. She also was incredibly productive. She spent a couple of years in the lab with Kelly McMasters, and she did work on gene therapy and many other things, but she also started to do a lot of health services research and was incredibly productive. And Kelly shared with me that she was always producing abstracts for every meeting. He said that as a general surgery resident, it was evident to everyone that Sandra was on the fast track to success in academic surgery, not only because of her penetrating intellect and her superior work ethic, but because her leadership style was such that everyone wanted to work with her. And that's still the case now. She built effective teams easily and made everyone around her better. When she then went to Memorial Sloan Kettering to do her oncology training, she became the chief administrative fellow there, and again, was very productive. Many manuscripts were produced, and you can see some of the co-authors are individuals who are leaders in the SSO as well. It was clear that Sandra was going to be a major leader in the field. She then went to Michigan to start her faculty position as assistant professor of surgery, and it did not take her long to become associate professor and finally the William W. Kuhn Collegiate Professor of Surgical Oncology. She rose quickly through the ranks, and in her free time there, she also earned a master's in clinical research design and statistical analysis. She became associate chair for clinical affairs in the Department of Surgery and associate chief of staff, always serving, always volunteering, always stepping up to help out. She was then recruited to Dartmouth, to the Geisel School of Medicine, to become chair of surgery there. One of her colleagues from Michigan, Dr. Jacqueline Giroux, who is Associate Dean for Regulatory Affairs, Associate Professor of Surgery, Pathology, and Biomedical Engineering at University of Michigan, said that she was so sorry to see Sandra go, but she knew that she was going to do incredible things. And Jacqueline shared with me that she epitomizes what it means to lead by example. She's laser focused on the actions needed to facilitate positive change, and she calmly perseveres with her signature style and grace to reach her goals. She's brilliant, strong, and incredibly kind and generous, and Jacqueline's very thankful and grateful for your friendship, Sandra. At Dartmouth, she's done, of course, incredible things, and I love this photo because I recently visited Dartmouth, and it's just a beautiful environment, and you know, Sandra, you really shine in that environment. Of course, she's done amazing things there while she's a professor at the Dartmouth Institute for Health Policy and Clinical Practice, in addition to being the chair of surgery. She's the senior vice president of the surgical service line at Dartmouth-Hitchcock. She's the interim vice president of the oncology service line at the Norris Cotton Cancer Center. She's the PI on greater than $12 million NIH-funded research, and she has $12 million pending, so she's still working and submitting grants despite all of her leadership positions. She's been very active in many different associations, including the American College of Surgeons, ASCO, AAS, SUS, where she served as president, in addition to all of her service to the SSO. She has over 240 publications and 35 book chapters. And I spoke with Andrew Lair, who's one of her current faculty at Dartmouth. He's assistant professor of surgery, and she is the mentor for his K08, which is on geospatial drivers of cancer care disparities and their susceptibility to health policy changes. And Andrew said, Dr. Wong continually models a commitment to excellence in patient care, research, and professional development, and does so without the need for recognition or fanfare. She intently understands those with whom she works and provides mentorship that pushes them towards their own developed goals and not some arbitrary or archetypal model. So Andrew is so appreciative, Sandra, of all your mentorship. But she's mentored many others. You know, this is just a short list of some of the undergraduates, graduate students, postdocs, and faculty that Sandra has mentored and the projects that she's mentored them on. Really, truly phenomenal. I also decided to, in preparing for this, of course, Sandra didn't want me to spend any time on it. No, don't spend any time on this, Kelly. So I thought, well, I'll do this quickly. I'll go to ChatGPT and I'll ask ChatGPT, what is it about Sandra and her mentorship? And ChatGPT said, well, I don't have personal opinions or beliefs, but I can tell you a few things. Her mentoring philosophy, 3 principles: supportive relationships, individualized career planning, and a culture of excellence. That is Dr. Wong. This is her service to the SSO. I'm sorry, in addition to her service of the SSO, she is now the 4th female president of the Society of Surgical Oncology, and it's been my great pleasure to work with her. Sandra, we thank you very much for all of your tremendous service. It's been an honor for me to work with you this year. You've been such a great role model to me. This is actually a quote from Sandra when she gave her SUS presidential address, that role models matter. So thank you, Dr. Wong, for being such a great role model to so many of us and for your service to the SSO.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Kelly, so much for the overly kind introduction. Thank you all for being here and sharing this with me today. I don't have any disclosures related to this talk. And and I wanted to talk about the future. So a standard Google search of the word future and future planning generated depictions of a lot of crystal balls and some street signs. And if you look at the directionality on these street signs, it really makes you wonder if we should really reconsider our past actions. I did like some of the images of forward thinking and forward trajectories, but maybe it's more interesting to think about other possibilities and not just the obvious ones. And the truth is, I don't know what the future holds, but I think we can and should plan for the future. So the exciting thing about planning for the future is that it's really a great opportunity for us to get out our pencils, sharpen them, and sketch out a vision. So, spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about our strategic plan. As the SSO approached a strategic planning process, one of the guiding principles was to consider who the future of surgical oncology is, and that's all of you. As the SSO, we are almost 3,400 members strong. So, how do we plan? Many of you are probably familiar with the work of Peter Drucker. He was an Austrian-American management consultant, educator, and author. He was also largely considered the man who invented management. He was really prolific. He wrote about 39 books, so he certainly had a lot of knowledge and disseminated a lot of knowledge about management. In this particular book, The Practice of Management, really defined priorities for the manager of the future, or the so-called manager of the future. And at the top of that list was something called manage by objectives, or management by objectives. And MBO really grew to be a planning process. And it was traditionally done by a handful of high-level managers at a corporation, and then that plan was delegated to all the members of the organization. Kind of sounds like a standard strategic planning process, right? The Drucker Institute, one of Peter Drucker's many legacies, has this tagline: they're laser focused on strengthening organizations in order to strengthen society. That's pretty lofty, but I really liked it. And in some ways, as we were planning to do the strategic plan, I thought this was really fitting. Interestingly, though, later in his career, Drucker himself downplayed the significance of MBO. And he actually stated MBO is just another tool. It's not the great cure for management inefficiency. Management by objectives works if you know the objectives, and 90% of the time, you don't. And interestingly, and I think pretty appropriate even today, is he identified the so-called activity trap in many organizations. It's that time when you get so busy and you get so involved in actually doing the activities that you forget your overarching purpose. And I think that happens to all of us. And truly, as we were starting this strategic planning process, everybody had so many great ideas. And I think what it really taught us is that we needed a plan that balanced a lofty vision with enough agility and flexibility to get things done. And that agility and flexibility are really important. In the face of relentless technological change and disruptive forces, organizational agility becomes ever more important. Remember, strengthening organizations like the SSO, is a way to strengthen society. So I'd like to share with you how we approached the planning process. So first, we looked back at accomplishments based on the last strategic plan, which was rolled out in 2018. There were so many components to it, but I'll highlight just a few things. There was a rebranding campaign, so effective probably that you don't remember what the old logo looks like. We reimagined the meeting, and you're living it right now. We have a new hub. It's been a great way to kind of get more information and content out to everybody. We have a ton of new educational offerings, and these offerings were such a boon during the pandemic because it gave us a way to really do things virtually. New virtual tumor board opportunities, the mobile app, podcasts, and other things. We really tried to have global impact, and this is through the work of the International Committee and the Global Forum of Cancer Surgeons. We have so many terrific global partners, and it's been really terrific to see those relationships grow. And really importantly, we focused on membership engagement. Over the life cycle of this previous strategic plan, we saw a 25% increase in members serving on committees and engaging with the SSO in other ways. So a great start. And as we started this strategic planning process, we wanted to plan for what we wanted to continue to accomplish. You know, kind of like keep going, but look for things that needed to change and look for ways to really accelerate that change. We are guided by our mission to improve multidisciplinary patient care by advancing the science, education, and practice of cancer surgery worldwide. We're guided by our vision, the optimal surgical cancer care for all. And we wanted to be inclusive of all of our membership, so including our international surgical colleagues, community cancer surgeons, and even advanced practice providers, key members of our teams. So we came up with 6 focus areas and convened 6 task forces to start. Thank you to everybody who participated on our task forces, and thank you so much to our task force chairs. We partnered each of the task force chairs with a member of the Executive Council and worked in conjunction throughout the entire process. We sort of flipped the planning process a bit. It wasn't that old way of just meeting and having a plan and then disseminating it. Truly, I want to thank the 215 SSO members for playing a key role in this strategic planning process. We added a qualitative survey. 116 of you participated. I want to thank Ziwei Fong and Sophia McKinley, 2 of this year's CGSO graduating fellows who took on this task. We had a 35-item open-ended survey of the membership, and they really used a great qualitative methodology using an inductive approach to really analyze the answers and to come up with some recurring themes. Thank you to both of you. Working with you was really a reminder of how brightly the future of surgical oncology shines. You can see some themes here. We really had a strong desire to increase engagement opportunities, to continue to do that. We wanted to hit a broad audience beyond the subspecialists in academic centers. We really wanted to be inclusive of a more diverse SSO leadership and really continue an emphasis on work in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And importantly, hearkening kind of like the themes of the task forces, we wanted to leverage relationships and use that to grow research, education, and innovation. We also included people in focus groups, and so we really wanted to understand our different membership segments, and we used a lot of interview processes. Thank you to all of you who participated in our focus groups. And I think really taking all of that information, our 6 focus areas became 4 pillars. Hopefully, you've seen this around the meeting. It's really going to be important. This informs what we do for the next several years. Number 1, increase SSO's impact worldwide. Number 2, enhance the member experience. Number 3, advance equitable patient-centered care. Number 4, drive the future of cancer care. This slide gives you a little bit more detail. Remember, our vision, our overarching vision, is the optimal surgical cancer care for all. And if you think about these pillars, it really gives us the ability to be nimble and agile as we do our work for the next several years. And I think it allows us to be anticipatory. If the pandemic taught us anything, is that we really have to be able to pivot on a dime. And I hope what you'll see here is a unifying theme around DEI principles. It started as its own focus area, but really importantly and really intentionally, it was an important way to make sure that DEI was committed, that we're committed to DEI and that it's interspersed through everything that we do. The SSO is truly committed to an inclusive environment and to addressing injustices in our healthcare system. We know that equity in the healthcare workforce improves performance. We perform better when we are diverse and when we are inclusive. And in many ways, it's just the right thing to do. That really informs the notion of justice. And DEI is really linked to health equity, although I think health equity is a freestanding concept. And I think we've heard it throughout the course of this meeting. It's a really intentional message. We cannot think that we provide high-quality health care unless we can provide it for everyone. So I'd like to highlight just some of the things that we've already started working on, guided by our new strategic plan. Kind of fortuitously or ironically, maybe interestingly, the month of March is Women's History Month. We have 1,053 women members of the SSO, and I hope many fold that of allies. So Women's History Month is a fairly new concept. It's been celebrated since 1987. This year's theme of International Women's Month is Embrace Equity. And I think that's really important when we think about it in a healthcare context. Women comprise nearly half of the global population and have an outsized influence on the well-being of their families, communities, and the economy. Women are the key decision makers in so many healthcare decisions for themselves and for their families. Women are under-researched and often go undiagnosed and untreated. And when diagnosed, often diagnosed in a later stage of disease. I would submit to you that equal opportunities aren't enough and that true inclusion and belonging require equitable action. So right after this session, the SSO is hosting the inaugural Women in Cancer Surgery breakfast. Thank you so much to Sarah McLaughlin and Margot Shoup for heading up this effort. They also reached out to the membership to solicit ideas for what would be major themes of interest: professional growth, career development and advancement, mentoring and networking, and work-life balance. So those will be major things that get discussed at today's breakfast. We have over 260 people attending. It's going to be great. The other thing I'd like to highlight is the ongoing work of our DEI Advisory Board. The DEI Advisory Board is continuing to work to allow discussions about health disparities via disparities tumor boards. These tumor boards have been terrific. They're available to you on demand, but they've covered such important issues, including access to care, barriers that we face in treating patients from minoritized populations, including the LGBTQ populations. And I think that work of that advisory group is going to continue to inform us on how to understand and act on social and political determinants of health. And one of the things I'm most excited about, and this is really something that's going to be just so structural in terms of our pillars of the strategic plan, is a DEI toolbox as a key educational offering. As you can see, and I hope you enjoyed all three of our featured speakers, there's a theme. And I think we were able to see some of the terrific work being done. Some of the additional work that will be featured prominently will be, and this is already happening, is that we have the chair of the DEI Advisory Board sitting on our nominating committee. This informs the future of the SSO. We want inclusivity, and this was one of the themes that we saw, was that it's going to be really important to be inclusive of more trainees and junior faculty on our committees. So to all of you who would like to be involved and more involved with the SSO, heed the call for volunteers. We need you. I'll highlight a few other things. I think it would just be so much and too much to do in a talk like this. But one of the other pillars, drive the future of cancer care, is the utterly necessary goal of fostering scientific investigation, discovery, and innovation. You know, without this, I don't know how we would continue to improve patient care. All of you know about the Annals of Surgical Oncology, our highly successful go-to journal. But I would submit to you that despite and probably in spite of the success of Annals of Surgical Oncology, open access publishing is growing very quickly. It's going to be a really important part of how we share information. If you think about it, having open access to new research and new discoveries is really part of the way that we advance health equity. We need information to be easily available to everybody, and not just to those who have the fortune of being part of a library consortium or having subscription access. So in that light, we are so proud to announce the launch of our new open access journal, Surgical Oncology Insight. I'm so grateful to the work of Dr. Ron Weigel, who is the chair of the SSO Publications Committee. This has been such an effort from him and the entire committee. So we're really excited to see this launch, and we'll look forward to putting some more information out for all of you. So I'm going to show this slide again because I think it's so important for us to remember the 4 pillars. There's something for everyone, and all of the work that needs to get done is going to require the input of all of our members. Increase the SSO's impact worldwide, enhance the member experience, advance equitable, patient-centered care, drive the future of cancer care. Again, we have an intentional emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion. We need a more diverse SSO leadership. We're going to increase engagement opportunities for trainees and junior faculty. And we're going to really enhance our relationships with other organizations for research, education, and innovation. We're so excited to partner with other organizations that share some of the key visions and principles. So now, as I make some closing comments, I will just end by saying that I think it's time to turn this plan into action. There's plenty of work to be done, and I can't think of a better group of people to do the work than all of you. I love the SSO. You know, I came to my first meeting over 20 years ago, and this society has really felt like home to me ever since then. I have so much gratitude for all of you. There are too many people to mention and thank. I'll try, but you'll forgive me for any lapses, because I'm sure there will be some. I want to specifically mention a few people who've really played some key roles in my career. I want to thank Dr. Monica Morrow for being a really early mentor. I can't thank Drs. Hiram Polk and Kelly McMasters enough for being so supportive of me when I was a general surgery resident. Thank you to Dr. Brennan, Dr. Coit, and so many of the others at Memorial for being my mentors as when I was a fellow. I have some SSO members. I want to thank Mitch Posner for being the person who really pulled me into the SSO. Mitch, I don't know if you remember, but I think we conducted one of the first membership surveys so many years ago. I want to thank Dr. Charles Balch, Dr. Jim Economou for just being my SSO kind of like gurus, people who've really helped me understand and learn the history of the SSO. It's been so terrific. Kelly already showed you some pictures of my family. I really want to thank them. They couldn't be here today. My dad had his 84th birthday 2 days ago. It's been such an honor to be their daughter. I think in some ways you could just kind of label them as like a classic immigrant family. They really afforded my brother Wes, my sister Connie, and I the opportunity to pursue our dreams. And so thank you, Mom and Dad. I also want to thank my team at Dartmouth. All of you make it such a joy to go to work every day. I love seeing all of your successes, and I'm so proud of the care that we provide our patients. All of you, I hope, have been enjoying this year's meeting. It's been so great. I want to thank Sharon Weber, who was the chair of our scientific program committee this year. I want to thank the entire scientific program committee. It's so much work to put together such a fabulous meeting. Thank you to the unsung heroes of the CME committee, and thank you so much to the outreach committee, the outreach work group. You've done a great job with social media, getting the word out. It's been truly great. Finally, I want to thank the Executive Council. This is a picture that we just took the other day. Kelly Hunt, thank you so much for being a great partner this year. All of you should know she's going to be a fabulous president. Kelly, I look forward to everything you're going to accomplish. I want to thank the SSO staff. This has just been so terrific. I hope many of you have been able to meet Anna Polyak. She's our new CEO. She started just after last year's annual meeting. Anna, thank you so much for everything that you've done for the society. Thank you to all of the SSO staff for making this year terrific and for making this a terrific meeting for all of us. Finally, I'd like to thank the cancer patients who trust us with their care. At the end of the day, and actually at the beginning of all of our days, they are why we do what we do. Thank you all for the honor of serving as your president.